11 critics of Putin who have been assassinated. Radiation poisoning, drive-by shooting, abduction. Openly criticizing Vladimir Putin is a risk factor for dying early. 1. Paul Klebnikov, July 9, 2004. Klebnikov was an American historian of Russia. He worked as editor-in-chief of Forbes Russia. Forbes exposed many of the government's schemes. Klebnikov personally reported on corruption. He was killed in a drive-by shooting near his Moscow office. 2. Anna Politkovskaya, October 7, 2006. Politkovskaya was an investigative journalist. She became famous for covering the Second Chechen War. She detailed Russian atrocities in Chechnya. She also wrote a book, Putin's Russia, describing Vlad's mafia state. Politkovskaya was shot at point-blank range in her own building. This happened on Putin's 54th birthday. 3. Alexander Litvinenko, November 23, 2006. Litvinenko was a former FSB agent. He defected to the UK. Litvinenko detailed how the FSB blew up buildings in Russia. They blamed it on Chechen terrorists. This boosted Putin's popularity and enabled the Second Chechen War. Litvinenko was poisoned by radioactive polonium-210 in London. His murderer is now a high-ranking Russian official. 4 and 5. Stanislav Merkalov and Anastasia Baburova, January 19, 2009. Merkalov was Russia's leading human rights lawyer. Baburova was a 25-year-old journalist who covered his cases. Merkalov represented Chechen civilians in lawsuits against Russia. He and Baburova were both shot dead by gunmen. The authorities blamed it on a neo-Nazi gang. 6. Natalia Astamirova, July 15, 2009. Astamirova was a leading human rights activist. She lived and worked in Chechnya. She reported on human rights abuses during the Chechen wars. Despite numerous threats, she wouldn't give up. The 51-year-old was abducted from the street outside her home. Her body was found in the woods. Later that day, she had been shot twice in the head and once in the heart. 7. Sergei Magnitsky, November 16, 2009. Magnitsky was a tax advisor representing a foreign investment fund. He was investigating fraud and misconduct by the government. Then he was arrested and charged with fraud himself. The police beat him up and refused to call an ambulance. Magnitsky died in police custody, age 37. 8. Boris Berezovsky, March 23, 2013. Berezovsky was a Russian oligarch, an early Putin supporter. But after falling out with Vlad, he immigrated to the UK. Berezovsky supported Alexander Litvinenko. He revealed many details about Putin's cabinet politics. Berezovsky was found hanged in his Berkshire home. The investigators returned an open verdict. 9. Boris Nemtsov, February 27, 2015. Nemtsov was a popular politician in the 1990s. In the 2000s, he became Putin's fiercest critic. He exposed Putin's corruption and foreign meddling. He led the protest against the 2014 invasion of Ukraine. Nemtsov was executed gangland-style near the Kremlin. All the surveillance cameras happened to malfunction that day. 10. Mikhail Lesin, November 5, 2015. Lesin was once part of Putin's inner circle. He created the propaganda channel RT. He was nicknamed Bulldozer for getting all Russian media under state control. In 2011, Lesin retired and moved to the US. There were rumors about an FBI deal. 4 years later, he was found dead in his hotel room in Washington, D.C. The cause of death was blunt head trauma. The investigators said he was drunk and hit his head. 11. Denis Voronenkov, March 23, 2017. Voronenkov was a Russian communist. He was loyal to Putin until Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. Then he fled to Ukraine, accusing Putin of international crimes. The 45-year-old was shot and killed in broad daylight in Kiev. The police traced the assassin to Russia's secret forces.